Howdy, my name is Ann McCarthy, and I am the lead for the FSE Outreach Program. And I was running a hallway hangout, but it looks like I'm on my own today. So instead, I thought I'd give a quick update and go through the items that were initially on the list and just post this video for folks to watch later. I totally respect that not everyone has time when I do. So to start, the first one I wanted to go through was this post on evolving the FSE Outreach Program. So the program started in May 2020. It's been about 3.5 years since it started, and we're now at a stage with phase 2 completion where it's time to think about how to evolve it and keep it relevant and useful. With phase 2 merged as of 6.3 on August 8th, it kind of became clear that adoption issues related to phase 2 work would be more high impact to switch to. And so I have some kind folks, Nick Diego, Justin Tadlock, Birgit Polly Hack, who have agreed to take over the outreach program and to focus it as a space around adoption related stuff, which is great. So if you're someone who has seen all the cool work happening, but you don't quite know how to get started, this channel for the next 6 months minimum will evolve. So the FSE Outreach Experiment channel will evolve, might change the name at TBD there. We kept the experiment title for 3.5 years. So I do want to make sure people can still find us. But this will evolve and move away from just user feedback and education awareness, things like this, and move into more work around actual addressing adoption issues, creating resources, holding kind of calls like this to share what's coming up and help folks get prepared and help folks actually adopt what's happening. I have one more call for testing that I'm sitting on right now. I'm waiting for 2 features to get merged related to 6.4, which I'll touch on in a bit, before I launch what will likely be the last call for testing, the 26th call for testing. And that will test everything from fonts management, pattern categories, writing improvements, list view, what I'm calling like workflow upgrades. But once that call for testing finishes, it'll then be replaced by ad hoc calls for testing, which is what was done before. And during the outreach program. So whenever something new is being created, any developer or designer can basically jump in and create an ad hoc call for testing about that specific feature. But the facilitated calls for testing where I post and interact with folks and have more step-by-step walkthrough and respond and get the feedback into the GitHub repo will just shift and move away. But yeah, it'll run for an additional 6 months. And I would love to here's the timeline. Here's more information. I would love to make sure that this evolution of the outreach program is higher impact than this last 3.5 years. So any feedback you can provide to ensure that's the case, and any feedback you have around or concerns, ideas, what have you, would be super helpful, especially around documentation and what I can share for anyone else who wants to do this work in the future. I do want to point out, especially this question, user feedback is very much needed. And the cool thing is because this is no longer a niche feature or something that's in progress and experimental, it's matured and live. And if you start a new WordPress site with a default theme, it's the experience that you get. The usual pathways are now what can be used, which is awesome. It kind of just flows into the stream of where a lot of the feedback is already going and actually helps bring more scale to what's going on, because right now it's hard as one person to run a lot of that stuff. I also just want to call out all these folks, the folks who helped translations, the folks who helped with running group testing, all the folks who responded numerous times, especially Paul, who responded to every single call for testing. There are 140 people who receive test contributor badges for responding, and it's just really inspiring and awesome. And I really appreciate all the effort here. It is September 13th today, so there's still time to respond to this, and I'll leave a link below if anyone has any feedback or wants to, share their thoughts. Next up, the roadmap to 6.4. I am one of the core editor triage leads for this release, which is very exciting. It's the underrepresented gender release squad, which I actually have a post about why that name matters. I'll pull it up right here. I'll also link to this below, but needless to say, I'd really appreciate if folks can make the effort to refer to it that way. This release is a shorter release cycle, so it's about half the number of Gutenberg versions that'll make it into the final release. And so if you've never seen this page, this is something that I help maintain. This will list out the roughly different Gutenberg versions. Of course, sometimes with these releases, we backport things from like Gutenberg 16.2. But this is roughly what you can expect to see in each WordPress version. And so for this, instead of there being like 9 to 10 Gutenberg releases, it's going to be more concise. So that's something to keep in mind with this. This is just a shorter release cycle. Right now, though, rather than going through this entire post, I'm going to pull out some highlights and then just briefly talk about what is not going to make it. So the 2024 theme, which is a new default theme, which is always so exciting. There's a huge team working on that. I'm pretty sure I can pull up. Let's see. This is the repo. You can tell I was looking at that. This is the repo if you want to test it out. It's super exciting. Is of course we have block theme, and it's kind of trying to take this approach of different personas all within one theme, which I think is really exciting. You should definitely jump in if this is of interest to you. So 2024 theme is a big highlight, managing fonts with the font library, as well as the font face, which will work alongside the font library to handle server-side style generation and printing. Those two features alone are massive. Font management has been something that's long been waited for and is not yet merged. It's one of the things I actually want to test as one of the final calls for testing, but it is well on its way. The Lightbox interactivity for your images, so being able to have Lightbox interactivity is something that's also in progress. And basically, almost all the way done, you'll see I actually left a comment on this tracking issue about it down at the bottom, trying to figure out where we stand, because I definitely want to make sure to include it in the next call for testing. There are new design tools, including more block support. Like I think there's block app in the post content block. There's margin, I think, was added to the details block. There's a number of lists of things that I'm currently creating. But 3 that I wanted to call out that I am particularly excited about. Background image support to the group block, long been requested. This has now been merged, and there is follow-up work to be done here that has already been opened by Andrew, who's done just a great job of shepherding this forward. This adds a lot more tooling basically to design options as per usual with a lot of these things. The aspect ratio to the image placeholder, this might seem like an odd thing to celebrate, but it's very exciting, especially for patterns. So imagine rather than having more of a wireframe pattern, where instead of having an image in place with the pattern that you add to a site, you just add an image placeholder and then set the aspect ratio, and all someone has to do is just drag and drop the image onto it. And so I am very excited about this. I plan to use it on my own personal site. And I think it's just a really neat way of, supercharging patterns. And you can see the discussion here. This other item, adding block instant element support for buttons and headings, is pretty neat. It's around section specific styling. And so a lot of this gets pretty deep into, some of the technical bits around section specific styling. I'm going to link to this here. This was what originally was slated for 6.4, and it was punted to 6.5. So basically, if I scroll down, let's see. Yeah, you'll see this discussion here where it was moved out of here. And Staxon, who's one of the designers who's been working on this, right now what's merged with heading block instances, element support for buttons and headings, as he states, might lead to color and style sets, which I think is pretty exciting and allows for a number of different variations in the long run. And this is a nice little, we click on this. So we'll zoom in. So imagine elements, you have element variations. You can see, so right now, headings and buttons. So you can imagine setting basically different high-level options, which I think is pretty neat. And this is more of a long-term look, but you can get the sense of what this might look like in the future and how variations might show up under a group block with all these different things. Very cool. So it's kind of like mini style variations, but for sections, as the name suggests. So just part of this got merged, only around, as mentioned, buttons and headings, but it does lay a neat groundwork for this. So that's more on the, I would say, like tinker builder side and designer side, but definitely worth calling out as design tools. Another feature, you can now rename group blocks, making it easier to skim, especially on the list view. So if you have a structure of a site and you want to kind of see at a glance all the content, this is a great way to do that. It's limited to just the group block right now. So I want to point that out. But even that, I think, is a huge step forward in terms of making things easier to find and skim, and also just improved organization with the list view and making it more powerful. You can also see previews of images and galleries in list view, and this is something, there's actually additional work being done to show previews of like paragraph, like the start of a paragraph and start of a heading, and that's currently kind of up for debate right now. But this is an interesting setup. So imagine you're trying to rearrange stuff and you want to see what you're actually doing. This shows the little previews, which I think is a really neat thing. As someone who takes a lot of photos, I'm quite excited about this and to see what we can do to continue iterating. There are a ton of command palette refinements, including a new design, a bunch of new commands, and just generally speaking, more contextual interactions. I'll have this video, so that's the new design. Rich Tabor did this video, which I'm very appreciative of. So show and hide breadcrumbs, which is a new one. I just love this new design. It also responds well to screen sizes, which was a current problem that has now been resolved. Yeah. So yeah, there's a ton here. I will not go through this, but if you're interested in more, I'll also link to this quarter improvement post that I just shipped this week. There's a lot here, and I definitely encourage plugin developers to check out adding commands to the command palette. Next up is also a more technical option around introducing block hooks, which basically allows you to auto insert, it was previously called auto inserting blocks, but it allows you to auto insert blocks into the experience. And one of the things that's currently underway, let me find it. So this kind of is the rundown. So renamed it to block hooks. And then this is a main piece of feedback that's been requested, is adding a filter to allow limiting to a given template type, template type, and post type. This has not yet been implemented, but will likely be implemented after WordPress 6.4 beta 1 ships, potentially. But right now, this is also something we will test with the next call for testing using a simple like button plugin that the OCOM Bernie created. And it basically just allows you turn on the plugin, and then let's say you go to a template, and the spot where it auto added something, it automatically appears, and there needs to be a good user experience notifying folks that it's automatically there and how to disable it. And if you scroll down, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, you can see what this might look like with navigation block with WooCommerce. So this is one of the things, like a cart or log in, log out. Ignore this rest of this, but it's a pretty interesting model for how to actually have a more refined and intuitive user experience. Writing flow improvements. There's a couple of different issues around capturing toolbars. So if you're, let's say, working with like the list block, each individual list item has a toolbar that goes with it. And instead, this is something Rich worked on, work has been done to capture it. So let's see if I can pull this up. And then a ton of work has been done by Ella around these different writing issues. I'll actually move this one up here. So you can see there's a ton of stuff that's been done and a ton more to do, but the writing experience and the base writing experience should always be seamless and enjoyable. And yeah, we have to build both for the site editor and for just the average writing experience. And so this is part of that. So I'll show you the before. You'll see each time you click, and then the after, you'll see it's captured up top. And so this was added to a couple different blocks, but definitely improves the writing experience. And we'll also test that in the outreach program. Improvements to pattern management for classic themes. I actually just saw an update for this, and related to this, being able to create your own pattern categories. So Aki has done an amazing job of moving this forward, and it's basically allowing for patterns to be more useful and allow access to this pattern section that has been really beautifully designed and thought of, rather than the old manage patterns section or manage reachable blocks section. So this was the update as of 3 hours ago. I won't go through this in great detail, but needless to say, this is moving forward, and I'm very excited about like how we can make this happen. So this is the current update right now, and a core patch was submitted. So keep an eye out for that, and just improvements around the experience for non-block themes. Related to that, there's also being able to create categories for patterns, and having that as a way to help organize things. One of my things that I really was hoping to get in that will not make it in is being able to create a pattern and then have it be one of the starter patterns for like a template or a post. That's not quite there, but this lays the groundwork. So being able to have categories, you can imagine in the future that more things can be added to make patterns more powerful. And this is well on its way, and is also something I'm waiting to have land. I think it's right now waiting for some accessibility feedback. And yeah, we should be able to test that as well. The table of contents block, which as the name suggests, automatically creates a table of contents. I was testing it the other day. Mama Duca has done amazing work on moving this forward as well. You'll see this is ready for review. One of the issues I actually found, along with some other folks, is that it was capturing headings in general templates. So if you added the table of contents to a page in the site editor, it would pull in things like comments, which you don't actually want included. And so he's working through some of those issues, but this is also well on its way. It's making it. Finally, relying on revisions for templates and template parts. This is blocked with some REST API work, but I'm fingers crossed, hopeful that we can see this move forward. But yeah, those are the top features. A number of things, if you go and look at the actual roadmap, have been punted. So I'll very quickly go through that. New blocks, the time to read and scrolling marquee block have both been punted to 6.5 after some lovely discussion broke out about each of these. So those are not making it in. This is now called block hooks. Post format and block themes has also been punted. There just wasn't enough time from the design side. Some of these interfaces and tools didn't get iterated upon as much. You'll see the command palette did and the list view iterations did. But top toolbar improvements didn't get too many enhancements done. Same with distraction free. For some of the site editing stuff, this one, removing coupling of template and template parts, did not make it. Some of these other things have. This is actually in progress, so I had the ability to switch the templates. It might have actually just landed. Yeah, so this just landed, which is awesome. So you can actually switch templates whenever you're creating a new page in the site editor. And related to that, I'm nearly positive this one is kind of like a joint issue with it that I'm also hoping to see land. You'll see this option of the show template, which is pretty cool. I'll close out of that. Some of these other things did make it, but some of these larger things like aligning page editing features inside editor and post editor are still open. Ditto with improvements to the styles panel in the site editor. Design tools, box shadow is not going to make it, unfortunately. This made it so the ability for theme developers to configure their own default min and max viewpoints, which is exciting for fluid typography. Again, you just have more control, which is always the WordPress way. Simplifying and extending layout controls. There is a work in progress PR, but I don't expect it to land. That is something that's a great example of what will probably be tested ad hoc in the future. Custom CSS enhancements didn't get very far. Same with this. This made it, as I mentioned before. More aspect ratio support landed with the image placeholder. This was added. I don't know if this was added. No. Let's say I remember opening this. I won't go too far into this. This one was added for support for background images. And I don't think this made it. Yeah. But it says needs review, so potentially it might be moving forward. A lot of the work around styles hasn't made it either. This just started for pagination with some developers. This needs some design thought. And same with a lot of this stuff. A lot of this got in a place where we basically just need more design thought and time before actually getting something in place that we feel good about. So don't expect any of this to change, but definitely expect this to still be top of mind in the future, especially on the hierarchy of styles and showing inherited styles. Those are two issues that have repeatedly come up with the outreach program. For patterns, these three are the main items that I have seen move forward. So the ability to set categories, having more consistency in the inserter experience will land, and then improving compatibility with non-block themes. This bug has been a long-standing bug with reusable blocks. Essentially, if you set a pattern and you have a group of blocks and you set it to wide, full width, and then you change it to a pattern, you lose the width alignment. And so some work is being done to resolve this. There is a work in progress PR to add a wrapper and adopt the widest alignment of children, which is interesting. And so this is currently in progress, which is exciting and really needs to be fixed. This is something that I think after 6.3 opened up the door for patterns creation within the general editing experience, this issue came up a fair amount. So I'm excited to see that bug handled. Partial sync patterns were explored, but again, need more time with design. Much of the navigation work did not make it, but some neat explorations have. So much of this has not quite moved forward. I think this one was the one I was expecting more, but I think a lot of it needs design thought and needs design feedback. So the query loop block, I'm actually really excited with this. The term query loop block did not make it, nor did fixing this issue, but the query loop block client-side pagination powered by the interactivity API did. And I actually have a YouTube video on this that I guess you'll be watching this on my YouTube channel that you should check out. Basically in the block museum, which I'll pull up now, if you're going through this is using the query loop block. I turned on this option and it allows for pagination to happen without a page refresh. So if you notice, when I'm hitting this, it doesn't actually refresh the page. And it's just a much easier and smoother user experience. And I'm terribly excited about it. I think it's really, really cool. I think it's cool for portfolios, for images, for testimonials, for like, here's your team and you're sweeping through them. So I'm quite excited about it. Footnotes, I'm nearly positive this mostly made it. I know this did. Let's open these up. Yep. Aha. This is listed as done, but for some reason doesn't seem done. Why did I put it as done? I'll follow up on this. Yeah. It seems like, oh, there's this temporary fix. So, I see. Yeah, this isn't quite done yet. So I will follow up on this and make sure that's right. That's part of my job on the release squad. 2024, as mentioned, will be launched. So number of performance-related work. I was talking to Emily Clark, who's one of the performance leads, about running a hallway hangout there. So get excited. Rollback for plugin and theme updates. From what I understand, we still need some help getting this over the line. So if you are a core contributor who can help with that, please do. The early foundational phase 3 work, there has been work done around this. The command palette is the one most likely to make it. And you can see some awesome designs here, but this is, again, needs more design time. And this is part of what's been tricky about having a shorter release cycle. But you'll see a lot of great discussion here, including this one with Tom at the end, where he's talking about, how painful this current admin table is, which I think is great. And so there's a lot of good design conversation, a lot of good feedback coming in. Marco, yeah, which I love seeing. So keep the feedback coming, and you can see some of the early designs here that are being thought of and some of where the inspiration is coming from. So otherwise, nothing else will make it from phase 3, which is what was expected. So let me stop sharing. Awesome. So that's a very fast rundown. I know I was speaking very quickly, you might need to slow me down. But I hope this helps you get excited about 6.4 and have more awareness about where the outreach program is headed. I'll drop links to everything in the description.